We're standing just at the top of what we call the broad steps. The tower itself stands on kind of rising ground beside the river. A Roman fort stood here prior to the tower. This is probably the reason this place was chosen. And over the wall there, over the battlements, we can see the rather fanciful but very, very beautiful Tower Bridge. Many people think it's the London Bridge, but it's not. It's just called Tower Bridge.
London Bridge isn't here anymore, is it?
There's always a London Bridge. There's been many London bridges. Before the Romans came, the Saxons had a bridge which was called London Bridge. The present London Bridge is just one of a succession. The one that's in Arizona was removed from... it was built, I think, in 1836, 1838, if my memory serves me correct. But of course, it was built for a much slower pace, the horse and cart, the hansom carriage, but totally inadequate for modern traffic. And so that one was dismantled at the same time as they built the 6-lane bridge, which now bears the name of London Bridge. So somebody saw the potential of it, bought the bridge, took it to Arizona and rebuilt it.
So then what we're looking now at is the London Bridge.
No, that is Tower Bridge.
Tower Bridge, okay, but there's a London Bridge?
The London Bridge is upriver by about another half a mile. It's the next one upriver.
Right.
Nothing to recommend it at all. It's a modern span bridge.
I think you're about to be asked a question.
Yes, sir.
The entry to the Bloody Castle?
The Bloody Tower, yes, down this way, sir, in the corner.
This way?
That's it, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so we get a question on that is beautiful. It's a blue and a white, and it's just like
yes, it has been, as you say, cleaned up over the years. The old sooty buildings have gone now. London sparkles, not like it used to. Yeah. But it's built of granite and iron. It's this year's its 100th anniversary.
So happy birthday, happy anniversary.
We're going to the execution site just in front of the Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula. The chapel, as we see it now, is a Tudor construction. It was replaced a church which was destroyed by fire in 1512, and in 1520 King Henry VIII ordered its rebuilding. So as we see it now, it is a Tudor chapel with some, I'm afraid, Victorian appendages.
Is that a favorite? Like when people come to New York City, they do certain things. They stand in front of things, world famed sites.
Well, yes. I mean,
this lady over here has got her head down as if she's about to be beheaded.
Well, mainly because it's what they call the site of the scaffold, or the private execution site. It was only used 6 times. It's a set of cobbles set in the grass.
Anne Boleyn was one.
Yes, she was one. She was the first one. No woman in this country had ever been beheaded before. Their normal fate was either to be hanged or burned.
Right. So in other words, it was only used 6 times, and how come it fell out of favor? It was just a changing of the guard, as it were.
It was during a very, very tumultuous period of during Henry VIII's reign. Most of it during Henry VIII's reign. Of course, the breakaway from the Church of Rome, religion became a crime.
Right.
Church and state were indivisible. A crime against one was a crime against the other. So if you upset one, you upset the other, and it was a very, very dangerous period, a period of what we call the Reformation.
Right. We're hearing the 5 o'clock chime now, the bell. Is this where Sir Walter Raleigh lost his?
No, he was taken from the Tower of London to where the Houses of Parliament now stand, at the other side of London, Westminster.
I don't know if you mentioned that, but oh yes, I think you did.
His body, in fact, if you go to the little church of St. Margaret's next to the Abbey, his body is there.
Right, okay, so I'm sorry.
The reason the only reason he was executed there is because he was taken to Westminster to go through a formal hearing on the charges against him. And because the death penalty was going to invoke, they decided to do it the next day, not bother to bring him back here, and
save the petrol.
Well, that's it, yes. Except they generally went by river, but that's by the way.
Okay, well, okay.
As you say, there's a lady kneeling down there, going the way of Anne Boleyn.
Right, so, and it was only used and there's a site of scaffold. Were people invited, the townspeople, the rabble, as it were, to come and see this great event?
No. At least the women were spared that final horrific indignity of dying in front of thousands of cheering people who were there to be entertained. No, they were... Henry might have been feeling a little bit soft towards them, decided that they were not for the common gaze. Notwithstanding, there still would have been possibly 50 or 60 people watching. There would have been the council, the people who were responsible for trying Anne Boleyn. There would be other officials like the Lord Mayor of London, the Sheriff of London, high officials. There would be a military guard. So So there would probably been, although it's called a private execution, there would probably been about 50 or 60 people.
Well, that makes it fairly humiliating.
Well, yes, but outside, when you think that people are vying for front row seats, the seats went for premium prices, and the nearer you got to the execution, of course, it was like a Broadway play. You know, the seats were going for high money for a new play, and people came there to be entertained as well. But this was not, ladies were not for this kind of exhibitionism.
Right, so that was in the public square, as it were. This was...
Well, just outside the tower on what we call Tower Hill. I mean, there would be sometimes, 10 or more thousand people watching an execution.
Right.
Particularly with somebody, who was a household name.
So the household names even then. So where are we going?
Well, you're now going into the...
having fun?
I'm having fun, but you're now going into the Jewel House because time is running short.
Okay. You're listening to Visions, a series of visits to almost everywhere. We are with, I'm going to see if I get this right now, and I'm probably going to get it wrong. We are with Chief Yeoman Warder Norman Jackson.
Bingo.
Got it? Bingo? Oh, God. Oh, I got it. Oh, I love the sound. We're coming
Well,
inside.
I'll leave you here because this is now the domain of the... could you raise
Mr. Sanderson.
Barry Sanderson or Bob or whoever?
Okay, now that I finally got your name, it's time for us to leave. This is the... What house are we in now?
This is the Jewel House.
Jewel House. We're with the curator, thank you very much. And Elizabeth II, of course, is the current monarch. Okay, and there's
shows a 3-minute loop of the coronation, the Queen's coronation in 1953.
Let us get your name. You are the curator?
Curator of the Crown Jewels.
Curator of the Crown Jewels, and your name?
Bob Melling.
Yeah, I know we met inside. I just wanted to get it. Okay, so this is, I watched this. I watched the coronation. She was so young.
She is. She was 23 then. Yeah.
I remember this well. Describe the screens and this is sort of there are three screens. Describe the screens and what's going on.
Well, there's a three screen. It's a continuous loop of the 1903 coronation. And what we're doing is we're showing a panorama of it on the 3 screens. And in 3 minutes it'll run through the coronation, then it stops, and then it goes back again. It's a continuous loop all the time.
Right.
And it runs.
Okay, the 2 screens, the one on the far left and the one in the middle. Elizabeth II has been coronated. She's given the scepter here.
She's receiving the scepter there in the right hand, which is delivered to the monarch. Scepter with the cross, the rod of kingly power and dignity.
And where is Prince Philip at this point?
Well, Prince Philip, he doesn't take part in coronation because he's just the Prince of the Blood. He's not a reigning monarch or anything, or he's not like a consort or anything. It's just.
But he is in the room somewhere?
Oh, he is in the chair. Yes, he is in the Abbey watching. Yes, indeed.
I said room, but of course we're talking.
It's Westminster Abbey. Yeah. Yes. All right. That's what we call the acclamation. As the crown of England is placed on the Queen's head, making her Queen, all the peers of the realm, all the princes of the realm, and that put their coronets on, and the claimers, God save the Queen, God save the Queen, 3 times.
This is so exciting.
Yeah.
And we, of course, we watched the cannon go up, a shot across the Thames, I guess.
Yeah.
The cannon. And now she's standing. And I remember this well because I watched it. And what year was this?
1953.
1953.
53. The father died in 1952 and she became Queen. The coronation is always 12 months after they've been made. Right. Always a period of waiting for 12 months.
Right. I was 13 years old. And I remember it well.
53, I was a soldier in the army. I was part of it.
Yeah. I was but a kid.
And you see, now that's the end. That's the end of that. We now pass through an ante-room into another cinema, and in this cinema, what it is, it's high-definition television, which is very, 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 very new, and it shows every piece of stuff that's used in coronation, and on one screen it shows it in high definition so people can really see it, and on the other screen it shows it being used and explains what it is.
Now this is fairly new, this locale, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the new jewel house. We just built this. It cost £10 million.
As we're watching this, a little bit of your background. Talk about you a bit.
I was military. I was a soldier for 23 years. And then when I left the army, I came to the Tower of London as a yeoman warder, as a beefeater. And 3 years later, I left the body of yeoman warders and came into the jewel house as an assistant curator. 2 years after that, 1980, the curator retired, and I was promoted to curate the Crown Jewels, and which my position holds. I hold a royal warrant.
Right. Okay, are we going to get closer, I guess, to the Crown Jewels? I guess we will.
Oh yeah, we're going to see them now. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
What keeps on amazing me is the contrast between then and now.
Yeah.
This obviously is the way it was, the rooms, and then of course you look at the sign fire exit.
Well, what we try to do with this is to keep it as it was. This was built in 1845 as a barrack block by Wellington for his troops. Right. And what we've tried to do is keep it looking like a barrack block would in 1845, but with all the modern bits put into it. This is what we call the processional way. And what we're trying to do is loosely depict the royal regalia now as it would be used in coronation.
Right.
In coronation, it's always like a procession, like the Queen left Buckingham Palace and went by the gold coach to Westminster. But in olden days, they used to progress from the banqueting house on Whitehall, and they used to walk to the Abbey in a long procession. And here we show the processions, things that we'll be using for it. The maces, which were carried by sergeant-at-arms.
Describe a mace.
Well, a mace, it was a fighting weapon originally, but in the advent of gunpowder, maces became obsolescent, and it then grew in stature, changed in shape, became 3 times as big as a mace would be, and it is purely today, what a mace is, it is a symbol of authority. Right. But in those days, the outriders, the people who escorted close into the king, would carry a mace as a fighting weapon. If anybody got too close, it would hit people with them.
Give them a little shot.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, of course, this is obviously gold.
Gold, silver gilt, actually, gold on silver. And something that big, you wouldn't make out of pure gold. It would be too heavy and too soft.
Is it hollow inside, or
it's made a rod of ash, very hard wood, bound in silver, then dipped in gold.
Right, and there's a crown to the top, and it's very ornate.
The crown to the top is purely made of silver and then gilded. There's nothing inside that.
And how many? Now, the one we're looking at right now is Mace, William and Mary Cipher, and the arms of Charles II, circa 1670. That's the one we're looking at, and it goes from 16.
Well, most of these were made. 1649, Charles I had his head removed by Cromwell and Parliament. Right. For the next 11 years, we had the Commonwealth period of England, which Cromwell ruled as Lord Protector. He systematically destroyed all the royal regalia, sending it away to be melted down and sold off. And so when the king came back and when monarchy was restored in England, which was Charles II, 1661, all the stuff had to be remade. So a lot of these maces date from 1660 or later than 1660.
So there was an 11
But you see a mace, for instance, mace 1670, made in 1670.
And then 1689.
With William and Mary's cipher on. Well, William Murray didn't come onto the throne of England until 1689. But what William Murray did, a lot of monarchs, what they did when they came on, they put their cipher, their initials, onto various pieces. Right. And this is why it looks confusing, but it's not, really.
So there was a maceless period then? Basically.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Okay. And all of them look basically the same. I mean...
Well, they are. A mace is a mace is a mace.
I mean, the work on it, the tooling,
this is it, yeah.
I guess it's personalized, but it's just gorgeous stuff.
There were certain silversmiths who specialised in making maces, you see. Right. That's why they all look the same.
And a quick look at 4, 8, 9...
We've got to keep moving because we close it off, that's fine.
Okay.
Here you see we got the trumpets, which were part of the procession with the fanfares. Right. The swords that precede the monarchic coronation, spiritual justice, temporal justice, and the sword of mercy. The great sword of state, which will precede the monarch. And St. Edward's staff, which still plays a part in coronation, but it's not used, it's just placed on the altar. It doesn't actually play a physical part in coronation, but it is still classed as part of coronation regalia. Through the vault doors, this is what we call the treasury. And what we've got here, we've got the dual sword of offering. It's pure gold scabbard and precious stones with the emblems of the Union of Great Britain.
Right. And
the thistle, the shamrock, the rose.
Right. And what are the stones? It looks like rubies and diamonds.
Rubies, diamonds, emeralds, yeah.
Emeralds. And what is an arm mill of Queen Elizabeth II?
Arm mill, the bracelets.
The bracelets.
Placed on the wrist at
and
coronation.
Of course, everything is gold.
They are definitely, arm mills are a sign of kingly sign or a queenly sign, sovereignty.
Now there's an arm mill of Charles II, arm mills of Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah,
the difference.
They were made because they were made for Charles II in 1661. But the Commonwealth, the nations that was in the Commonwealth of England at the time of coronation decided that they would have new arm mills built and present them to the Queen for coronation. So that's why Elizabeth's got Queen Elizabeth's arm mills for 1953. They were made especially for the Queen Elizabeth's coronation. This is the ampulla and spoon. Now, it's called a coronation spoon, but that's That's a bad name for it. It is really, the correct name is the anointing spoon. Because this is the most solemn part of coronation, the anointing.
And what happens with that?
If a monarch is not anointed, they are not King or Queen of England. It is the most solemn part of coronation.
What is the ceremony like?
The ceremony is that the holy prism is poured through the beak of the eel into the spoon, and the Archbishop then anoints the sovereign's head, breasts and palms with 3 fingers representing the Holy Trinity, Father, Son and Holy Spirit.
Okay, describe it. It's poured through the eagle's beak again?
Beak. The eagle is hollow. In it is holy oil for coronation, for like confirmation when oil. And they pour it out of the eagle when it comes through the beak, because the beak is hollow. It's the obvious place for it to put forward through into the spoon.
So it's tipped, and the eagle stands about maybe 7 inches tall, about 4 inches across, with the wings spread, maybe 5 inches, and it's gold, and
that is gold.
Beautiful, and I guess it's tipped, and it comes out of the beak and into the spoon, and then okay, now we got it. Okay, that's the coronation spoon and ampulla, circa 1661.
These are the coronation robes of England. This is a golden super tunica and a golden imperial mantle, a gold stole that goes around the monarch's neck at coronation.
This is all gold?
23.5 pounds of pure gold.
And now, is this what Queen Elizabeth II wore?
Queen Elizabeth wore these in 1953, yes.
Okay, the sovereign's coronation robes, super tunica, 1911, and imperial mantle,
1821, yeah.
St. Edward's crown, 1661. Describe it and explain it.
It is the coronation crown of England. It's made of pure gold and it weighs 1 ounce short of 5 pounds. It is terribly heavy. The monarch only wears it once during the lifetime, that is for the actual ceremony of coronation. Afterwards, this crown is removed and they use a much lighter crown known as the imperial state crown, which is further along in the exhibition.
So and each monarch afterwards wears a new crown then?
No.
Oh, I see. Okay.
This is the coronation crown, as I've just said, and then they use the imperial state crown.
I see.
There isn't a new crown made for every monarch, no.
I see, okay. Here we go.
This is the orb which is delivered to the monarch's right hand, and what you can see is a golden ball with a cross, which signifies the world ruled by Christianity. God rules the world of the universe, and they are chosen, God's chosen person, to rule part of the world.
And that's the sovereign's orb?
And that's the sovereign's orb. This is the sceptre with the cross, which is delivered to the monarch's right hand at coronation, and it is known as the rod of kingly or queenly dignity.
Okay, and the sovereign sceptre?
That is the sovereign sceptre I've just told you about.
Right.
It's the sovereign sceptre, the sceptre with the cross. And in it is the largest diamond in the world, 530 carats in weight.
And that's the first star of Africa?
First star of Africa, that's it.
Okay,
yep.
And that is the largest diamond in the world?
Largest cut diamond in the world, 530 carats. Small crowns you see are Prince of Wales crowns, pure gold, no gemstones.
Okay, so on the left we're looking at the crown of George, Prince of Wales, 1901, 1902. In the middle, Queen Mary II, scepter with dove, and then Queen Mary II's orb, 1689. And then, of course, we're looking at the crown of Frederick, Prince of Wales, 1728. Today, of course, the Prince of Wales
That's his own crown. It's his own personal possession. It's not on. You never get a Prince of Wales crowns displayed in here until he's dead.
Right. Okay.
Okay. In this case, the diadem of Mary of Modena. She was the 17-year-old bride of James III. Mm-hmm. The small crown known as the bum crown of Queen Victoria. If you ever see a photograph or a statue of Queen Victoria, she wore her hair as a bun on top of her head and the little crown fitted on the bum.
Right on top, and that was 1870, and he has Queen Mary's crown.
Queen Mary's crown, she was 1911. Queen Mary of Teck was the wife of George V. Mm-hmm.
And much larger,
she was
obviously.
Queen Consort.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Queen Consort scepter with cross, 1685.
And the scepter with the dove on the other side is the consort's scepter.
Okay.
This crown is the Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. She is still alive. That's the mother of the present Queen. And in this crown, this is the only crown that displays platinum.
All right.
Nothing but diamonds in it. And in this is one of the oldest diamonds in the world, known as the Koh-i-Noor.
Right.
The Indian diamond.
All right. Well, it seems crass to put a price on any of this, but it's just priceless.
It's priceless. I mean, there is no price. I mean, you cannot price the antiquity of them, owned by the sovereign and so on. This is the Queen Mary of Modena's state crown. This was the crown she was crowned as Queen Consort in 1685.
Okay. We're coming to a gorgeous, maybe the highlight of the crowns here. Beautiful.
That is the Imperial State Crown of England. That holds the second largest diamond in the world, which is 317 carats in weight.
Is that the one on top?
The second star of Africa. No, it's in the band at the front there. You can see in the circle at the front. Above that is a very famous stone, the Black Prince's ruby.
And how large is this diamond here?
That diamond is 317 carats in weight.
This is fantastic.
3,737 precious stones.
And it shines. It shines. It's the Imperial State Crown, and it's 1937, I guess, is when it was created.
Well, it was it's been in being since 1660, really, but they keep remaking it. It was made for one was made for Queen Victoria, then it was remade for George VI, and then it was re-altered and made. The arches, in actual fact, was lower, and it was made smaller for the present Queen.
Again, this is all in glass cases, of course. And then what is it sitting on? Everything is sitting on a pillow.
Cushion, on a cushion.
Satin and...
what do you call that stuff? She's gone. I was going to ask you.
Okay, but it's a red...
Not velour, satin, no, not satin, the other stuff.
well, if you'll think of it as we go. And it's a red, and the colours are red.
Well, red and purple are the royal colours.
And with gold, of course.
Yeah, this is the altar plates of England. This is altar plate. This is gold on silver, apart from the small pieces which are pure gold. And this is used to decorate the chapel, the altar at Westminster Abbey for coronation.
There are chalices here. Everything is gold.
Chalices, everything's silver gilt. The big piece is silver gilt. The small piece is pure gold.
The tray in the that would be a tray in the
they're an altar dish, not a tray. On what they call an altar dish.
This is just mind-boggling, as it were. And I'm trying to think of the velour and the satin.
Yeah, it's not. It's like a velour. It's not satin. It's not velour. It's the other stuff. But I always forget it.
We'll have a little contest here. We can name it.
This window contains all silver gilt, but this is banqueting plate. What they decorated the banqueting tables with.
Are they still doing it with this, or?
In coronation, quite a lot of this would go out for a coronation. If they had a coronation banquet, then most of this stuff would definitely go out.
So this is all coronation. This is,
we'll have to put it this way. It's easiest.
This is all coronation, and St. George's...
well, this is regalia, what they call regalia. The coronation regalia is crowns and sceptres and things. The rest of it is known as the regalia. Right. It's all part of the mystique of monarchy, I would suggest.
I want to just for a moment, the wine cistern or grand punch bowl, 1829, folks. This is a punch bowl.
They call it a wine cistern, but I think a better word to describe that is a wine cooler, because what they used to do, they used to have small bottles of wine in those. They didn't make the big bottles like they were small. And what they used to do, they used to layer them in there and cover them with wet cloth and ice and stuff like that to keep the wine, cool the wine down.
Oh, so you didn't actually ladle out?
It became a grand punch bowl,
right,
where Queen Victoria, for the baptism of her first child, she used it as a punch bowl.
Right, and it's all sculptured, and what is this made of?
That is made of silver gilt. Quarter of a ton of pure silver.
Quarter ton.
Pure silver,
right,
then gilded with pure gold.
And there are
9 years to make.
And there are unicorns and angels.
What it is, it's the world given up from the sea, held in 2 huge oyster shells. Greek mythology, in other words. Mm-hmm. Down below you see all the creatures of the sea: lobsters, conch, mussels, oysters, cockles, winkles, everything is down there. And then above, held in the oyster shells, is the fruits of the earth. Mm-hmm. The man, the woman, the children, which are the fruits of man and woman. The beasts lying down in the fields with man. Mm-hmm. The grapes showing the fruits of the earth. And little boys, there's everything. There's squirrels on it, everything, showing caterpillars, everything's on it.
And the ladle, of course, is...
The ladle is gold, and the handle is of ivory.
Right, ivory and gold.
Ivory
and
gold,
it's okay. This
one ladle per person.
One ladle per person, only one ladle per person. That'll be enough to, that's a... Yes, okay.
Right, we'll just have a quick look here, and then you've seen everything, okay?
Okay.
This is a christening font.
This is for christening?
Christening window. The large one, christening font of Charles II. Unfortunately, his wife could not bear him children. Mm-hmm. But it is said that he put it to good use, because it is said that he had so many mistresses, he had 13 illegitimate children.
Really?
So I believe, yes.
So what did he use for washing his hands? What did he do?
There you go, I don't know. But Queen Victoria came on the throne. She would not use that to christen her children. She had the lily font made in 1840 for her baptism of all her kids, and that has always been used since. All children are baptised in the lily font.
In the lily font, and then the christening.
The ewer and basin. Well, the ewer is purely a jug. It's used for pouring water into the christening font, but actually this basin and ewer is displayed because Frederick Louis, the son of George III, they were at Sandringham when he was born, and this was used to baptise. He was baptised in the basin.
And again, this is made of gold
and silver.
Gold and silver. Okay, we're coming to, God, geez, this is all gorgeous.
For intrinsic value is the finest crown that we display.
And
this is the Imperial Crown of India. It was made for the 1911 for the Delhi Durbar of George V, when he travelled to India to be crowned Emperor of India in 1911. Parliamentary law will not allow the crowns of England to leave the shores of England. And so the Indian princes produced the gemstones, and Garage, who is still the crown jewellers today, made this crown for £60,000.
£60,000.
That was to make it.
Right.
All the gemstone was given by the Indian princes. Yeah. And possibly for intrinsic value, I think that this is the most beautiful crown we display.
Gorgeous. And I believe it's velvet.
It is velvet.
There you go. I just picked up on that velvet.
Remember, it's velvet. Right. Yeah, the cushions are made of velvet.
Right.
6,004 precious stones in this crown.
Right. Again, priceless.
Again, priceless. You can see beautiful emeralds, diamonds, rubies, all perfectly matched for colour, clarity. Right. Fantastic crown.
And of course, the glass case, of course, the security is ultimate here. And it's also lit from above. Within the case.
And through the cushions, if you look.
And, I see. Through the
lights come up, yeah.
Oh, coming up through the cushion, it's also lit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's who created that? Yeah.
Well, we did. The design team that designed this new jewel house, you know, we thought about it, and it's what they call fibre optic lighting.
Right. So you've got the lights coming from above, from the roof. I mean, from the roof of the case, and then through, I guess,
from the bottom up through the cushion. Yeah.
Right. Through holes in the cushion, it's lit. Oh, that's very nice, very creative. This is really impressive, very breathtaking.
It's just a pity it's a little bit rusty. It came a little bit too late, really.
You're listening to Visions, a series of visits to just about everywhere, and we are in the Jewel House of the Tower of London in London, England. And again, your name is?
Bob Melling.
Bob Melling, and you're the curator, keeper of the jewels?
I'm the curator of the crown jewels, yes.
And would that also be keeper of the jewels?
No, I am curator of the crown. Curator means keeper, really. Okay, I'm keeper of the crown jewels. Right. But the general who you talked to earlier on, he is known as the resident governor and keeper of the jewel house. He's the keeper of the jewel house. I am curator of the crown jewels.
And that was Major General
Christopher Tyler.
Major General Christopher Tyler, who set this tour up today. And if we don't get to speak to him, he may be gone by now. My thanks to Major General Tyler. Okay, we're coming through. We're going to be leaving now.
We're going to release you now.
Okay,
we've got a locker. We've got to put all the alarm systems on. See?
Okay, do you take me to somebody else now? Are you taking me to somebody else, or are we finished?
No, we've finished.
That's it. We're all through. Okay, so that's...
Well, just got to make your way out now.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you are walking out with me then?
No, I'm not. Okay, I'll be back in 2 seconds, Barry.
Okay, so...
I'm just going to point you in the right direction how to get out of the tower, because the tower is now closed, as you can see.
Before closing this edition of Visions, I'd like to pass along a couple of thanks. On the international thank you front, a big thank you goes out to Richard Branson, Diane Leifer, Juan Donette, and Jan Caraway of Virgin Atlantic Airways. Of course, Richard Branson being the founder, and Diane Leifer and Juan Donette, they're at 96 Morton Street. And Jan Caraway, she's still with Virgin Atlantic. That was my original contact. She is now based in San Francisco. I thank all, and I thank you, of course, for tuning into Visions today. Until next time for Visions, a series of visits to almost everywhere, I'm your host and fellow traveler, Herb Malsman.
Sites are just in front of the Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula. The chapel, as we see it now, is a Tudor construction. It was replaced a church which was destroyed by fire in 1512. And in 1520, King Henry VIII ordered its rebuilding. So as we see it now, it is a Tudor chapel with some, I'm afraid, Victorian appendages.
Is that a favorite? Like when people come to New York City, they do certain things. They stand in front of things, you know, world famed sites.
Well, yes. I mean,
this lady over here has got her head down as if she's about to be beheaded.
Well, mainly because it's what they call the site of the scaffold, or the private execution site. It was only used 6 times. It's a set of cobbles set in the
Anne
grass.
Boleyn was one.
Yes, she was one. She was the first one. No woman in this country had ever been beheaded before. Their normal fate was either to be hanged or burned.
Right. So in other words, it was only used 6 times, and how come it fell out of favor? It was just a changing of the guard, as it were.
It was during a very, very tumultuous period of during Henry VIII's reign. Most of it during Henry VIII's reign. Of course, the breakaway from the Church of Rome. Religion became a crime.
Right.
Church and state were indivisible. A crime against one was a crime against the other. So if you upset one, you upset the other, and it was a very, very dangerous period, a period of what we call the Reformation.
Right. We're hearing the 5 o'clock chime now, the bell. Is this where Sir Walter Raleighs lost his?
No, he was taken from the Tower of London to where the Houses of Parliament now stand, at the other side of London, Westminster.
I don't know if you mentioned that, but oh yes, I think you did.
His body, in fact, if you go to the little church of St. Margaret's next to the Abbey, his body is there.
Right, okay, so I'm sorry.
The reason he was, the only reason he was executed there is because he was taken to Westminster to go through a formal hearing on the charges against him. And because the death penalty was going to invoke, they decided to do it the next day, not bother to bring him back here, and so...
Save the petrol.
Well, that's it, yes. Except they generally went by river, but that's by the way.
Okay, well, okay.
As you say, there's a lady kneeling down there, going the way of Anne Boleyn.
Right, so, and it was only used, and there's a site of scaffold. Were people invited, the townspeople, the rabble, as it were, to come and see this great event?
No. At least the women were spared that final horrific indignity of dying in front of thousands of cheering people who were there to be entertained. No, they were... You know, Henry might have been feeling a little bit soft towards them, decided that they were not for the common gaze. Notwithstanding, there still would have been possibly 50 or 60 people watching. There would have been the council, the people who were responsible for trying Anne Boleyn. There would be other officials like the Lord Mayor of London, the Sheriff of London, and so that one was dismantled at the same time as they built the 6-lane bridge, which now bears the name of London Bridge. So somebody saw the potential of it, bought the bridge, took it to Arizona and rebuilt it.
So then what we're looking now at is the London Bridge?
No, that is Tower Bridge.
Tower Bridge, okay, but there's a London Bridge?
The London Bridge is upriver by about another half a mile. It's the next one upriver.
Right.
Nothing to recommend it at all. It's a modern span bridge.
I think you're about to be asked a question.
Yes, sir.
The entry to the Bloody Castle?
The Bloody Tower, yes, down this way, so in the corner.
This way?
That's it, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so we get a question on, that is beautiful. It's a blue and a white, and it's just like...
yes, it has been, as you say, cleaned up over the years. The old sooty buildings have gone now. London sparkles, not like it used to. Yeah. But it's built of granite and iron. It's this year's its 100th anniversary.
So happy birthday, happy anniversary.
We're going to the executions. We're standing just at the top of what we call the broad steps. The tower itself stands on kind of rising ground beside the river. A Roman fort stood here prior to the tower. This is probably the reason this place was chosen. And over the wall there, over the battlements, we can see the rather fanciful but very, very beautiful Tower Bridge. Many people think it's the London Bridge, but it's not. It's just called Tower Bridge.
London Bridge isn't here anymore, is it?
There's always a London Bridge. There's been many London bridges. Before the Romans came, the Saxons had a bridge which was called London Bridge. The present London Bridge is just one of a succession. The one that's in Arizona was removed from... it was built, I think, in 1836, 1838, if my memory serves me correct. But of course it was built for a much slower pace, the horse and cart, the hansom carriage, but totally inadequate for modern traffic.